The Battle of Waterloo, fought on June 18, 1815, was the final and decisive battle for Napoleon Bonaparte. After escaping from exile on the island of Elba, Napoleon returned to France and regained power for a brief period known as the 100 Days. Determined to reclaim his empire, Napoleon gathered an army to fight against the Seventh Coalition, a group of European powers that wanted to end his rule. Napoleon faced not just one army at Waterloo but a combined force of British, Prussian, Dutch, and Belgian troops. The Duke of Wellington led the British and Allied forces, while the Prussian army was commanded by Field Marshal Gebhard von Blücher. This coalition was formed specifically to stop Napoleon's ambitions, and together they outnumbered his army. The cooperation between Wellington and Blücher was crucial in securing victory against the French forces. The Battle of Waterloo was short but intense. It took place over the course of a single day, starting in the morning and ending by the evening of June 18, 1815. Despite the short duration, the battle was brutal, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. By the end of the day, around 50,000 soldiers had been killed or wounded. The quick yet devastating outcome determined the fate of Europe for years to come. One of the critical mistakes Napoleon made at Waterloo was delaying the start of the battle. He decided to wait until mid-morning to attack, hoping that the wet ground would dry out and make it easier for his troops to maneuver. This delay gave the Prussian army enough time to reinforce the Duke of Wellington's forces, tipping the scales in favor of the coalition. Napoleon's decision to wait may have cost him the battle and his empire. Although the Duke of Wellington's forces held the line for much of the day, it was the arrival of the Prussian army that played a decisive role in the victory. The Prussians, led by Blücher, arrived on the battlefield in the late afternoon and attacked Napoleon's right flank. This caught the French forces off guard and stretched their defenses thin, contributing to their ultimate defeat. The cooperation between Wellington and Blücher was key to the Allied victory. The battlefield at Waterloo presented many challenges for Napoleon's forces. The area was hilly and muddy, making it difficult for his cavalry and artillery to move quickly. The terrain also gave Wellington's troops an advantage, as they were positioned on higher ground and could defend more effectively. Napoleon's famous tactic of using heavy artillery bombardments was less effective because of the terrain, which played a significant role in his defeat. The Duke of Wellington was known for his defensive tactics, and Waterloo was a perfect example of this. Instead of attacking Napoleon's forces head-on, Wellington positioned his troops behind ridges and used the terrain to protect them from artillery fire. He waited for Napoleon to make the first move and then used his well-disciplined army to counterattack at key moments. This strategy allowed Wellington's army to hold their ground until the Prussians arrived to provide reinforcements. Napoleon's Imperial Guard was his elite force, considered invincible by many. They were the most experienced and loyal soldiers in his army. As the battle was nearing its end, Napoleon ordered the Imperial Guard to make a final charge to break Wellington's lines. However, the British forces held their ground, and the Imperial Guard was defeated for the first time. Their retreat marked the collapse of Napoleon's army and the end of the battle. The aftermath of the Battle of Waterloo was gruesome. The battlefield was littered with thousands of dead and wounded soldiers, as well as horses and destroyed equipment. It took days for locals and soldiers to clear the area. Medical care was limited, and many wounded soldiers died from infections or lack of proper treatment. The sheer scale of the devastation at Waterloo left a lasting impression on Europe and cemented the battle as one of the bloodiest in history. The defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo had far-reaching consequences for Europe. After the battle, Napoleon was captured and exiled to the remote island of St. Helena, where he spent the rest of his life. The victory at Waterloo marked the end of the Napoleonic Wars and led to a period of relative peace in Europe, known as the Conservative Europe. The political map of Europe was redrawn, and the monarchies that Napoleon had overthrown were restored. Waterloo became a symbol of the end of an era of revolutionary wars and the start of a new European order.